Welcome, my name's Ed Zinkiewicz. I want to talk to you today about decisions. Do you have a lot of decisions to make? Can't figure out which way you're going to go, or you have too many options? Well, I have a couple of tips for you today. It has to do with 3 people I'd like you to invite to your next decision making. Let's talk about them. Usually, when we get into the decision-making thing, we collect a large quantity of data, just a big pile. We collect everything so that we can sift through it and decide which of those things are important to the decision, which aren't, and what difference it makes. So we go for quantity and we go for quality. I'd like you to think about asking or thinking about using one other thing, and that's imagination. So the 3 friends I want you to invite to your next decision are largely imaginary. We'll talk to you about when it might not be, but you'll get the idea as we go along. The first one is your future self. The second is your past self. And the third one, your best friend. Let's get started. What about future self? Well, I want you to imagine with me if someone said to you, you have to make a decision about this, but it sounds really good. You know, those kinds of decisions where you've made the long list of pros and cons, but for some odd reason, the pros get longer. You really want this one, like golf clubs? Is that a decision that you would be really interested in? How about new furniture? Does that do it for you? Or a vacation, a cruise, something else. I'm sure you've run into decisions where you are influenced and it seems like the decision is sort of tilted one way in favor of going that way. Doesn't have to be tilted that way. It could be tilted the other way because, as it turns out, this particular decision is not something you're interested in doing at all. It doesn't feel good, smell good, look good. You're not interested in it. So what happens when you might be interested and when you might not be interested? What I want you to do is to invite your future self in on that decision. Here's how it works. First, recognize when you're feeling one way or the other, up or down, your emotions are involved. What you need to do is get yourself a little distance from that. Susie Welch says, what I want you to do is to think about the future. What will that decision feel like 10 minutes from now, 10 months from now, 10 years from now? If you can put that emotional distance between you and how you feel right now, you can be a little bit more objective. Will those golf clubs hold up to the test of 10 years? Did they really give you an improved game? I don't know. Maybe they did. Possibly. Why not? But if you evaluate that truthfully to yourself, it'll input to that decision and add to its quality. Same thing with furniture. The best looking furniture now, what's it going to look like 10 years from now? Will that make a difference to you? I don't know. But your future self might be able to help you decide. Now, what about your past self? Here's how this works. First off, we're headed off into something that might happen in the future. We want to go somewhere, do something. We have an event coming up. Then something happens and we have to evaluate why. That's where your past self comes in and you ask, what could cause that? So let me give you an example. There's a lot of arrows and pointers. Let's divide that up into parts. First, suppose you want to move. You always wanted to move to this mountain location and have one picked out. It's great. And so here, we're starting our way into the future of moving to that mountain location. We haven't started packing yet because we haven't made the decision yet, but still we want to. We're thinking about what else can happen, and one day we look out the window and lo and behold, because it's mountains, there's snow there. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, it adds to the allure of the whole thing. And then the next thing that happens, bam! The car gets in an accident. It looks pretty grim. I wonder what happened. That's where your past self comes in. It's not hard to imagine what could have happened. You know, it snowed. We got on that icy road and the car had a mind of its own. Next thing you know, we're off the side of the road, banging into a tree that went through the windshield. Sorry about that. But that's where the past self comes in. My family has a legend about my mother. Turns out my mother wanted to drive, wanted to borrow the car. Her father, my grandfather, said, "You can't drive the car until you show me you can change a tire." Now, what's that all about? Well, my grandfather played with his past self, and he said, what's the worst thing that can happen to a young lady in Northwest Ohio in wintertime? Well, she could be out on those country roads and get a flat tire and be stuck unless she knows what to do. I want to make sure that's not going to happen. And so he invited his past self to imagine those things and make a plan for dealing with it. Same thing with moving to that mountainside location. All right, yeah, it snows out there. We better put the chains on the tires. Did we think about chains? Or we better avoid going out altogether. Did we think about getting that extra freezer so we could stock in some supplies and not have to worry about going out? Just avoid the problem? No, these are options that we could have gone through that add grist to the mill about what this decision is going to look like. So the next decision you get to make might invite your past self to help. Your brain doesn't care, by the way, whether you're thinking about what happened in an event that actually did happen or what happened in an event that never happened at all. It will formulate an image, come up with a scenario, and give you an answer and show it to you and make you feel like you're there. It doesn't care. So, invite your past self, whether he exists or not. All right, next one, best friend. Here's the scenario. We have a best friend. My wife's best friend, actually. They've been friends for a long time. She has a network in the community. She's got services. She knows where the doctors are and where the dentists are, all that stuff. She's got a network, and she's got it 30 years she's been here. She's built those things. She's got a church she likes to go to. Let's call her Sue. Sue, one day, has a daughter who leaves town. And she has to decide, there's these grandkids out there that no longer live close. What are we going to do? Do I move myself down there or not? That's where best friend can help. Because you can imagine what your best friend would advise you in that situation. Pro or con, sometimes they'll vote yes, sometimes they'll vote no. What are you going to do? Best friend can help you whether they're standing there or not. This is the only one that's imaginary, but doesn't have to be. You could actually go talk to your best friend. However, another thing that can happen, what? Oh, yeah, the best friend. You know you can count on them to ask the right questions. Not every best friend, but some. For example, suppose you kept your doctors. Is it so far away that you couldn't keep visiting them? Don't know. But it gives you grist for that decision making. So ask your best friend's advice. Ask your best friend for questions. Use your future self. Use your past self. use your best friend and keep it all in your head. You want some other tips for decision making? I got another tutorial coming out later this year that will help with decisions in all kinds of ways. In the meanwhile, take a look at the other tips that come out twice a week, other talks like this one that come out twice a month, and tutorials that come out once a month. I invite you to sign up and subscribe using the little red button or the purple button and get notice about when the videos are going to be shown. And to go to my website, Retirement Kickstart, sign up for the newsletter, and I'll send you a notice every week about what videos are out. Hope you join me. Leave a comment below. What decisions have you made? Who are your imaginary friends?
Did you know I add a new video to the Growing Library every Tuesday and Thursday at 10? This is Ed. Thanks for coming. I hope you'll come back. These videos will help you find joy, make friends, and keep active.